If you've ever felt boxed in or restricted by the pentatonic scale, then you clicked on the right video, because today I'm going to show you how we can use something I call the XY method to open up the pentatonic scale and turn it into a much more powerful musical tool. As always, every fretboard diagram will be available over on Patreon alongside a follow-up practice tips video where we go more into depth on everything we cover in today's lesson. So the guitar is a bit of a unique instrument because on a 6-string guitar, you can travel more than 2 full octaves without ever having to move the position of your hand. There's our first octave, and there's our second octave. It's actually one of the primary reasons the pros are able to play through scales on the guitar so quickly. Where this becomes a problem is when you're trying to use these vertical scales to make music. They're relatively easy to move up and down through, but when you try and use them creatively, the notes always come out sounding boxy or like you're just playing through a scale. These vertical scales represent the Y in our XY method. This is because they travel along the Y axis. Now I'm sure you can make the connection and guess where the X comes from, the X axis. And we have a whole bunch of scales that travel horizontally like a piano along each individual string. But simply knowing that these two axes exist is not exactly that helpful. So what we want to do is combine our X and Y into one accessible, easy to remember shape that we can use just like any standard pentatonic shape we already know. The difference is that by adding that X axis, we'll naturally be moving across the fretboard and our scales will not sound boxy or restricted. So we're going to build my favorite scale shape of all time. It's the one that I use every single day when I pick up my guitar. It's called the XY shape, and it is a combination shape containing 2 basic shapes, one that represents X and one that represents Y. Our Y shape is one I'm sure you already know. It's the basic position 1 minor pentatonic. We'll keep it simple and put it in the key of A minor or the relative C major. Now for our X shape, we're not going to limit ourselves to just one string. We totally could, but the usefulness of that is very limited at first. Instead, we're going to spread ourselves diagonally across the fretboard. So we'll be moving along the X axis while also moving up the strings at the same time. Now, on its own, this shape is a little bit confusing because we start it on a G note, and we don't really have any anchor point to tell us where to position the shape for the key. But if I overlay this shape over the Y shape we started with, you can see that they fit together perfectly. They're actually the exact same scale, just starting a little lower, matching up in the middle, and then ending a little higher thanks to that horizontal movement. And what you have now is different from your typical scale where you would play all the notes in order. Instead, you have a roadmap full of notes to access and use freely in whatever order or pattern you want. Now, I spend way too much time sitting at my desk with a guitar in my hands. So that's why whenever I can, I try and get out and go to a cafe or coffee shop to do my guitar-free work. And if you know anything about public Wi-Fi, you know just how risky that can be, which is why I use Surfshark VPN to stay safe. Surfshark VPN encrypts your online data and protects you from any shady individuals that might be trying to steal or access your information on a public network. In this day and age, you really can never be too careful. Plus, with over 3,200 servers in 100 different countries, you can access content or streaming services that might be blocked in your area by changing your virtual location with the click of a button. Surfshark even has an antivirus and will alert you if your personal data ever gets leaked. So if you want to try it out for yourself, you can get 4 extra months by going to surfshark.com/Clark. I'll put that link at both the top of the description and also in a pinned comment for you. Big thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the lesson. Before we even apply our new shape to a song, we have to know how to position it. And doing this is super simple because the XY shape works in both major and minor keys. Put your hand in position for your Y shape. Whichever note your index finger sits on is the minor key this will work over, and whichever note your pinky finger sits on is the major key this will work over. So in this position, we know this will work over A minor or C major. If I move the this up 2 frets, the whole shape stays the exact same, and I just look at the index and pinky notes. So here we're in B minor or D major. Now that we've got that down, let's explore this new shape over a track in the key of A minor. We already know how to position our shape for this key. So let's start by just playing our Y shape to make sure we're positioned correctly. And if you are trying to follow along, you don't have to go this fast. Whatever speed, doesn't matter. Let's do our X shape, so our diagonal. Also sounds great. And now we're gonna combine the two. So I'm gonna start with my X, but then I'm just gonna finish all the way through my Y rather than carrying on past it. And then the same thing, but not using the lower part and extending into the higher part. From here, you'd want to just kind of give yourself some freedom to improvise or play around with some random notes and just get the shape under your fingers and feeling good. One little tip I have for you is when you make that shift with your hand, when you're moving through that X shape, try adding a slide like this. That slide is going to make things sound a lot less boxy. So go ahead and try some different licks or riffs that you already know, but make sure you're making use of both parts of this combined scale. Now I want to give you another example of using this shape in another key as well. So this track is going to be in the key of A major. That means we will need to position our shape with our pinky finger on an A note, which would mean putting it right here. You can see we actually run out of frets and have to use these 2 open strings for these 2 notes, which is no big deal. All right, let's pull up the new track. So once again, let's start with our Y shape just to make sure we're positioned correctly. And our diagonal X shape. Sounds pretty cool. And again, we will combine the 2 going back and forth. And using the higher part. And now I'm just going to improvise with this shape a little bit. One thing you'll notice is I really like doing this. That move right there is great. You can add it to any improvisation or solo. So as you get more used to this shape, you can start modifying it or incorporating other things you've learned alongside it. One of those things could be connecting another Y shape. This is actually pretty simple to do because you've already laid the groundwork with the extra notes from the X shape. So you can see that the top notes here just make up the top of our position 2 scale. Then the bottom notes, all the way down here, they make up the bottom of our position 5 scale. Another thing you can do is make this whole shape a major or minor scale instead of just pentatonic. We do this by adding back the notes that we removed to turn it into a pentatonic scale in the first place. So rather than this being A minor or C major pentatonic, it's now either an A minor scale or a C major scale. I use this variation a lot in my own playing and writing. From here, I have the perfect lesson for you. It's all about the 1-string horizontal scales that connect right into the shape you've just learned. I'll put a link up in the middle of the screen for you. Big thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.